Everybody, Team Wilpers, I am honored to be here with the Fit Crew. What a wealth of knowledge right here on my screen, and I am going to soak it up if I can. I'm super happy to share you all with the Fit Crew. I'm going to ask you each to go around and introduce yourselves quick. Lori, do you mind giving us a quick intro?
Sure. Lori Lown. I'm in Northern California, specifically the beachside Capitola Village. And I've been an endurance athlete for over 25 years. I started riding in the late 90s after being a non-athlete and quickly changed my life and decided I wanted to share that with other people. I have been coaching for 23 years as of last month. So, focusing on bike fit and skills instruction and also program design, and have done a whole bunch of other things in there too, but mostly just like to ride bikes and run and have a good time.
That's awesome. Thank you. And your town was flooded recently. Is everything okay? You doing all right?
Yeah, it is okay. Yeah.
All right. Phew, thanks. We were thinking about you. Brian, how about you? Will you say a few things about yourself?
Of course, man. I love talking about myself. Who doesn't?
Quickly.
Yeah, I'm similar to Lori here, right? So I've been in the industry for 25 years. Will be this year, 25 years. As a fitness professional, I've been coaching cycling, triathlon, running for the last 20 plus years and bike fitting for the last, I don't know, at this point, 10 plus years. I love the sport as a whole. Give me a gravel bike, a road bike, a mountain bike, triathlon bike, somebody on the back, nobody on the back, whatever. If it's got pedals and wheels, I'll take it, and I'll take it as far as you want me to take it. So yeah, loving all of it.
That's awesome. And we're neighbors. You moved up to Vermont
We are.
recently, and we got to ride once together. But yeah, I'm gonna chase you down a few more times this year, and try and do that some more. So that'll
I
be
mean,
that'll be cool.
that's how much I love Greg. I moved to Vermont from New York just to be closer to him. He moved from New York City. I'm like, fuck it, I'm leaving too. I'm going with Greg.
Smart move. Smart move. I love it. Everyone else, come on up. All right, cool. Anthony, how about you? Where are you? What's going on? Tell us.
Everything's happening. So much stuff. No, it's so I have been in this industry since 2012. So what's that, like 12 years now? I've been doing the bike fitting thing for 10 of those years. And it's been really cool, just kind of working with all walks of life. I worked with a junior racing team for a while, which is really neat. Just all these kids super stoked on bikes and stuff. I did the racing thing for many years. Cyclocross was kind of my forte. Now I'm just kind of, running mostly. I've been riding for fun, just kind of like a lot of the people that we work with. So it's really cool to kind of be on the more casual end of things at this point.
Totally
I
got
just
it.
learned
That's
something
awesome.
new, Anthony. I didn't know you raced cross.
Yeah, very much so. Did a lot of it.
Cross is boss.
Toss's boss. That's sweet. I've
Track
done
is
one
crack.
cross race. It was a lot of fun though, man. As I look back on it, like I bet I could get into it again.
The most
Is
fun
Uh,
that
you
the
can
thing?
have while your eyeballs are bleeding, right?
red line for an hour, like
Yeah.
totally. So, hey, if
You think the
y'all don't know
FTP
me,
test is hard.
if y'all
Sorry.
don't know me, I am Coach Greg Wagoner, working with Team Wilpers, and in addition to running the big Team Wilpers cycling group, the group program, I work with private clients who are looking to maximize their efficiency in training. Most of my clients are not competitive cyclists, but they are motivated by a few challenges every year. So I do host a gravel camp here in Vermont for 3 days that I invite them to. A lot of them are totally psyched and trained for that and show up and have a great time. Others do local races or events, and some of them are competitive in like a fondo type of thing or a legit race or a gravel race. So mostly though, my athletes and I, at whatever level they are, we learn together through conversation and learn how to train smarter and not harder. And that's kind of been my philosophy. Speaking of smarter, like I mentioned, the wealth of knowledge on my screen. You all, come on, look at my bikes back here. So I have two of them. I have a gravel bike. I have a mountain bike. I don't ride the road bike so much anymore, but please, you guys, while you're here, give me a few tips. Just a quick sentence or two. How can I fit myself? What should I be looking for, Lori?
Discomfort. I would say that discomfort is a cue. It's feedback for you. So that tells you that either something is off with your fit or something is off with your form. So if you feel excess muscle fatigue or burning or numbness or tingling in any contact point, that's a cue to address your fit.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank you, Brian. You're local, and I even reached out to you. My bikes all feels good to me right now, except my mountain bike. And I need to get with you, and you need to help me tweak that. But what if I didn't have you? What would I do to myself? What would I do myself?
I would say play with the positions, right? Like you don't know what feels good till you try something else. And what happens a lot of times when we set our bikes, we forget about it, and it just becomes normal, right? It's that normal feel. So you got to move it. Like, how do you know if you're reaching or if something feels right if you're not changing it to something else? So what I would always say is, like, wherever you are with your saddle, think about your saddle pressure, think about your foot pressure, drop your saddle a little bit. How does it feel? What does the pedal stroke feel like? Go back to your old saddle height, move your saddle height up a little bit. What's the differences, right? If we're getting more pressure in the saddle, usually not a good thing. Less pressure in the foot, not a good thing, right? Play around with that and kind of self-select. Give it a couple rides. Go back to your old position. So play. Don't be scared to move stuff around. Just write it down. Write it down like a recipe. Write it down. Where am I? Where did I move to? Coming back. Write it down. But play.
It's not set
Please
and
play.
forget at all, right? And you do have to take notes, or if you move it, put tape on the, there's all kinds of tricks, I'm sure.
Yes.
So awesome. Look for discomfort and play. Anthony, how about you? What should I do?
Well, it's interesting. Like, just the question brings up an anecdote. I was watching a friend do the half iron. I think it's the Muscleman in Maryland. And, we're a group of friends spectating. He's the one racing, all that good stuff. And, one of my fellow spectators asked me, like, because that's the curse of the bike fitter, right? Like, you're watching all these people on bikes and you're just like, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good, So,
Yes.
so, she asked me, like, how can you tell if somebody's fit's off? And, my answer was more along the lines of, like, if they don't look relaxed, they're not relaxed. So that's something to look for as well. Like, if you're not relaxed on the bike, if your shoulders are tense, if your arms are locked out, those are all signs that something's off, because the bike is what's not allowing you to relax. So definitely something to consider as well.
Oh, that's so cool. And you guys get to have these conversations day in and day out with fit clients. I'm so jealous because you get into the physiology and everything, and look for imbalances and what might be issues, and give exercises as well as fit the bike properly. So it's definitely an ongoing process, and that's amazing. Well, I think as we start 2024, bike fit to me is, and my clients, I think it's just as important. If a bike doesn't fit, bike fit is, having a properly fit bike is just as important as having the bike in the program. Because otherwise, what happens if it doesn't fit properly?
You're not comfortable.
Things.
You won't ride. You get injured. It's not fun.
Doesn't work.
You're going to take up
I'll tell you one
hitting.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
You're definitely not going to reach your goals.
Right.
That's for sure.
Oh,
Because you're
goals.
not going to be on the bike
Good
enough
segue.
to reach your goals.
Good
Come on.
segue. Yeah, here we go. All right, goal setting. It is bike fit and goal setting are my topics of the week, and
Yes.
so let's move on very carefully into goal setting, and just a big view on goal setting. What, when, why? Kind of what I ask, and I get a lot of examples. I've been having a lot of conversations with clients and even in the Facebook group and everything. So some of the examples that come up are, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to train more consistently. I'm going to be less stressed. I'm going to sleep better. I'm going to be happier overall. Are these complete goals?
No.
Lori, what do you think?
So back to business school, right? SMART goals. So those are all great. They're wishes, I would say. I wish I slept better. I wish I trained more consistently. But if I look at a SMART goal, it needs to be specific. I want to train
What's a
8 hours a
SMART
week.
goal? Yeah, what's
A
SMART?
smart. So S is smart. S is specific. So M is measurable, meaning it's something that I can then measure my progress. So sleep is a good one, right? So I want to sleep more. I know I need to sleep more. I'll recover better. I'm now sleeping 6 hours a night. That's measurable. I want to sleep 6.5 hours. That's better. So I can set a specific goal. I can measure it. It's attainable. If I were to say I want to sleep 26 hours a night, that's not attainable. That's impossible. So
Right,
unless
right.
you have a time machine. Um, so relevant, it's relevant to what we're doing. If I told you I wanted to make a goal of knitting once a week, you'd be like, yeah, that's great, Lori, go knit. But it has nothing to do with
Right.
your cycling and your endurance sports. And obviously, I want to make it time based. So I want to have a deadline. So I'm going to say to myself, okay, I want to sleep 6.5 hours a night. And I'm going to work my way up to that by February 15th. And then I
Awesome.
have to figure out how to get there.
SMART,
Right. So then I
smart.
make my
Yeah.
plan. Yeah, my SMART goals.
That's awesome. And what about you? You mentioned in our talks beforehand, Goodhart's law. What about that? Bring your financial cap.
People think I'm obsessed with this, but exactly, it comes from economics. It is basically a theory that says that when your metric becomes your target, it's no longer a good metric. And I see this a lot in, especially the Peloton community. The one I'll use specifically is our FTP. So when my FTP becomes my goal, how how valid is that goal anymore? That shouldn't necessarily be my goal. My FTP is a measure. It's a snapshot of my fitness today in this one 20-minute test potentially. So
And the
increasing my
goals
FTP
could be
may
then
increase my fitness. Yeah,
the goals could then be more process oriented and defining what your
right.
training looks like and what your sleep looks like and everything. And
Yeah,
then yeah, the measure is the
exactly.
FTP, right? It's not the goal.
Or it could be something totally outside that. It could be maybe my goal is I want to climb Old La Honda, which is a pretty famous climb here in the Bay Area, in under 25 minutes. And I know that in order to do that, my power to weight ratio has to be a specific thing. So I need to know my FTP, I need to know my weight, I need to figure out what the secret sauce is there between the two of them in order to match
Yeah,
that goal
sweet.
or meet that goal.
All right, cool. So SMA,
That's a tough thing
S,
to remember. Like that's a really hard thing, like to like keep those two separate, right? Because especially with
Yeah.
FTP, like we get so obsessed with just raising it, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing like that's not the whole number, right? And then it's like, all right, well, my goal is to be up this mountain at a certain time. There's a lot of things that are going to take into consideration, right? Your FTP is one of them, but your riding style and ability is also one of them, standing and seated and your technique and
Yeah.
stuff, right? So all those play into the ultimate goal. So yeah, that's great.
Even my
where
bike.
you are
I
in your
always
training,
hear
sure.
it, but it's always hard. Yeah.
The other one that
Yeah,
I
sweet.
see a lot in the training world, not so much in the Peloton world, but the training world is CTL, which is chronic training load. Um, and my chronic training load is basically the volume of training I've done, how much my fitness has changed over the last 6 weeks. And CTL shouldn't be your goal. And I fell prey to that last year. I went from zero fitness at the beginning of the year due to a couple surgeries. And I'm watching my ramp rate go up, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get my CTL to 100. That's a great goal. That's not a goal. It's a measure. So, I mean, I
That's a
had other
measure,
goals,
right?
but as I
I
was
use that
doing
for
it, I was like, oh, I know.
planning purposes and
But a
just to
lot of
measure
people
like
do
what does my
that.
plan look like? Right, right.
Right. And a
Cool.
lot of people,
Thank you,
that will be
Brian.
their goal.
Right.
Brian, do you have a philosophy about goal setting?
I do. I don't like making goals. Just kidding. No, it's not. We should always have goals. But
Resolutions, goals, habit. Yeah,
you
forget it.
know,
Who needs them?
I, this is why I love goals and like coming up with resolutions, stuff like that is because, especially when we talk about fitness industry and just getting healthy and fit. And we're not always trying to be a better cyclist or get up a mountain at a certain time or whatever it is. Maybe it's just changing our lifestyle and working out. So I'm making that goal of like, I'm going to work out X amount of times. Making a goal is making a decision. And most of us, when we think about fitness, we're thinking about motivation. I'm going to get motivated. I'm going to work out every day. This is going to be amazing. It doesn't work like that. The way it works is you make a decision to do something. You set a goal and then you take action, right? I'm going to do this 3 times a week. Like Lori said, attainable. That's it. Just 3 times. When I do multiple weeks of 3 times a week, I then get motivated. This is awesome. This is great. Now, we've all done Duolingo, trying to learn Spanish. You get that little check mark or whatever it is, or your little blue dot on the Peloton. Like we start collecting. That's that motivation, right? But don't confuse it. Don't get it in the wrong order or you're not going to be successful. Don't wait to be motivated. Nothing will happen, right? You have to make a decision. This morning at 5:30 when my alarm went off, I made a decision to get up out of bed because I haven't worked out since the new year clicked over because of life. And today I was like, you know what? I have to do it. And it was a crappy workout, but it was a workout. Action was made. And tomorrow it'll be a little bit better. And then by next week, I'll be motivated again, right? I'll be kicking along like crazy. So make the decision, take action. The motivation will follow itself.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That just makes a lot of things make sense. And it's so much more than cycling. And I'm going to get to that in a little bit with my example. But that's awesome. Thanks, guys. Anthony, how about you? What do you do in the way of goal setting?
Well, I think, just kind of to use a little bit of what Brian said there, it's a goal is a call to action, right? So, what does that call to action look like? And I think that the best goals are the ones that make you nervous. Like if you're sitting there and you're just like, I don't know if I can do that, that's a good goal. Because that's something that's worth achieving. If you set the bar too low, and I mean, it's, what I'm trying to say, right? Like it's just set a goal that's worth it, right? And a lot of times those goals that are, I guess better for us, if you will, they're the ones that kind of give us some butterflies and just kind of we wonder if we want to do that. But I think another important thing, especially since, let's be honest, it's less than a week past New Year's. A lot of people watching this might be just starting their fitness journey. And they're just looking to get on a bike for more than half an hour and not be winded, right? So, that's a goal right there. And that's a great one. So, it's that I think we can sometimes get lost in like the epicness of our goals. Like, it's like, it's not big enough. And it's like, it's fine. And the path to getting there doesn't have to be set in stone. It's mold it with clay, change it as you see fit. And, I think the argument has to be made as well that your mental fitness is just as important as your physical one. If it becomes work and you hate it, we need to take a second and reevaluate this, and maybe shift our goals to something else. So, it's got to be fun at the end of the day. If it's not fun, you're not going to keep doing it. So, the mental aspects to it is definitely a big deal as well.
I love that you're bringing in the mental aspect and the feelings of it. I think overall we do this to feel good, to be healthy and happy. And man, I've tried for years to explain the feeling you get after achieving a goal, put that into words, and that's a bestseller. But there's no better drug in the world than that feeling. And I think that's why we set goals and achieve them, and it's awesome. I want to run a conversation by you that I had just on Tuesday with a client, and you guys can give me the checklist or edit if you want and see if I did a good job. Anyway, a client of mine, a cyclist, a friend, came to my house here in Vermont to ride gravel bikes. She and her husband, and on the phone, she's come a long way. Lost weight, got into training late in life, and all of that, right? So one of the remaining pieces is the 1 or 2 glasses of wine 3 or 4 times a week. Ready to give that up. 2 years in, she's mentioned it before. Nah, not ready to give that up. And it's not me pushing her or anything. It's just her bringing it up. And this year, she's ready to give it up for the purpose of improving performance, getting better sleep, mental state, and overall more happy and healthy. It kind of is a lot more than that, though. If you start asking questions, you're like, okay, what does that mean? So she wants to stop drinking for 3 months. So it's good. She has a clear goal and a timeline. And What does it mean, though? I mean, there's a lot of social aspect to the
Mm-hmm.
drinking. Her friends, when she mentioned this goal to all of them, they're like, "Ooh, no, I don't want to do that," or "No, why would you want to do that?" Not really a positive reaction from her social group, which is so important. So it's kind of tough. Um, but this is important to her, so she kind of needs to change her environment. She might need to make some new friends. She's got a lot of work to do. This is going to be challenging. It's not that easy. And so
Mm-hmm.
she was okay with the idea of looking for new friends or new environments. Uh, maybe I could say yes to this friend once in a while and let them know I'm not going to drink when we go out to dinner. Or make sure she and her husband had to have a talk. I don't want to open a bottle of wine every
Yeah.
night or every other night. So a lot has to happen for this to come about. Um, On the other hand, though, what happens when she needs a drink or she feels like she needs a drink at the end of the
Right.
day? How is she going to manage stress throughout the day and manage expectations so that she gets to the end of the day and doesn't feel like she needs a drink? So we went through all of this stuff, and she's really on board for it. She's gonna think about it ahead of time and manage her stress and say no more to friends and say no more at work and really keep everything in line so that she can make not drinking a habit, which hopefully will be there after 3 months. Uh, so she's going to have water on hand and seltzer water, in a social situation. She's got to talk to people, maybe look into making some new friends, including a local bike club and setting up early morning rides on the weekends and when that makes sense. So there's a lot going on to it. But as you can see, I'm not going to drink for 3 months. There's a lot that goes into that socially, mentally, uh, and otherwise. So she and I, because I'm part of it, we have our work cut out for us, but I think it's achievable. I think there's a timeline, there's clear benefits. Is this a complete goal?
Yeah.
Almost.
I'm
Sorry.
12
Go
years
ahead.
sober in another 2 weeks, so I have some strong opinions about this, but I would say thank you. And I will say the last 12 years as an athlete, I have far exceeded anything I ever did prior to that, which is kind of sad because
Yeah.
I wasted my youth on the bottle. Um, I would say there's a great group in the Peloton world, the Peloton Sober Squad, of people at varying times in their history of sobriety, including people who are just curious or thinking about dry January or that kind of thing. I think socially, it has become much more acceptable not to drink alcohol. And we know that there are definitely health benefits to not drinking alcohol. So, all of those things. I think socially, the hardest thing is the first month or two when you have to say to somebody, no, I'm not drinking, thank you. Or just don't say anything. Just order what do you want to
Yeah.
drink?
It takes
A
practice,
fizzy
doesn't it?
water
You just
with
have to
a,
start practicing
I guess
doing that
so.
and not get to the point where you have to decide at the moment of having it. And
And she may find
yeah,
that her
yeah.
social group changes, and maybe that's okay. Maybe she needs some friends. Now, the spouse is a hard one, and I can tell you from a lot of people who have chosen not to drink, if their spouse isn't supportive of it, that can be challenging. But maybe
Well,
she
I
can
think
get
we're
him
on
on
our way
board.
there. I think we're on our
So
way there, and
that's good.
that her spouse
Yeah.
is supporting, and it's the friends component, and also the
Yeah.
stress component. So, Brian, what do you think?
Yeah.
One, I'd say, yeah, you're close, man. Very close. I think it's action at this point. And the stress one. All right, I'm just going to touch on this really
Mm-hmm.
quick because this is a conversation I have often with myself and other people is alcohol is not a stress reliever. Alcohol is a
Correct.
stressor. Okay. So a stressful day is not solved by having a drink.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually made worse by having a drink. So
Or
it's
your HRV
not,
will tell you, right?
yeah, it's not the actual drink that's making you stress free. It's the act of not giving a shit anymore. When we have a drink or we open up a drink, we're like, that's it, I'm done for the day. Right? So replace that with a different ritual, whether it's a certain kombucha or a certain beverage, a Topo Chico, something that you don't typically have every day. Have that same ritual of opening it up, pouring it into a wine glass, sitting and relaxing for 5 minutes as you take those first couple sips. It's the same thing with smokers. It's not the nicotine that's relaxing you, that's a stimulant. It's the fact that you're standing outside in nature for 5 minutes, taking in deep breaths. Go outside and just go like this. Do that for 5 minutes. You're going to feel fantastic. right? So we have to educate ourselves, understanding that these vices aren't providing us the relaxation that we need. They're actually detrimental to us. That will help us make the decision to get it out of our life a little easier. But other than that, yeah, listen, made a decision. She's coming up with a plan. She has a support staff in you, and sounds like her husband is somewhat on board with this and is not going to be fully dry, but is going to assist in some nature. So community is key. You have to have a supportive community that is going to maybe not join you in this path, but at least support you down this path. Her friends don't have to quit drinking. Her friends just have to ask her not to drink. Don't offer me a drink. It's already hard enough to not order one myself. I don't need you to bring a bottle of wine to me. Right. So
that's important
as long
to me.
as they're,
It should be important to them as well too.
Yeah, same thing. Like when they're like, why would you do that? Well, why would I run 100 miles? Because I do.
Right.
You don't. I don't expect you to run 100 miles, but I'm going to. Right. I'm not drinking.
Makes me feel good.
You can keep drinking. Do whatever you want. It's fine. But just support me in my endeavor, and I'll support you in yours. But yeah, it sounds great, man. Kudos.
And I'll support her.
Even
you can hook me up with her, Greg.
Of course.
For me too.
Anthony, anything to add in, or another example? Anything that you all have come across in with your own clients? Any goal setting things you want to hash out?
Well, I mean, it's just, I'm going to try to not go on a rant here because this goes into psychology and I'm fascinated by that. But you know, it's with your client. So, you know, it comes down to something that might sound cliche, but I think it's very true. Is like you surround yourself with the people whom you want to become, right? You know, and there's a lot to be said for the psychologic nature of, you know, you're surrounding yourself by people who are just like, yeah, let's do this, you know, let's accomplish things, what have you. You're going to be much more inclined to be like that. So, you know, it's to, you know, Brian and Lori's points, it's about, I mean, yeah, there's so much more acceptance of people who don't drink nowadays. And there's so many options too for alcohol-free things that taste like alcohol. So
that's a slippery slope, I will say, for a lot of people.
Well, fair, but you know,
not everybody.
Like if you just want to be at a party and hold a can of something, you can still do that, and it doesn't have to be an actual beer, you know? So anyway, I lost my train of thought, but it's one of those things where I lost my train of thought trying not to rant. But you know,
that's all right.
I saved you by interrupting you. Sorry.
I use this example just to show that there's so much more to the health and fitness, and that it's not just cycling. Y'all are not just fit specialists. You really got a wealth of knowledge to offer. And I think as a coach, we kind of wear a lot of hats, and we're looking at well, what are all the words? Longevity, health as we get older, fitness, obviously, competition, stress, mental state. I mean, there's so many things that we are diving into, and just wanted to share a piece of all that with you. And looking forward, I guess I get some help in the big group training from you all, and I'm hoping that you will jump into the weekly topic posts and the daily ride posts, and start throwing your hat in the ring as far as commenting and gather, drum up some conversations. If you see somebody posting something that looks like they could use a little guidance or I'm hoping that happens. And so just wanted to get us all on the screen together and say hello to everybody. But I think we'll wrap it up for today. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, pleasure. Maybe we could do this some more. So, all right. Awesome, guys. Thank you.